The whole plan here is this is going to go to the moon. We're going into a very low orbit first, then to a very specific higher orbit, and then finally to a very specific relay orbit that I'm aiming for. But right now, this is just going to be a standard sort of ascent. I'm so paranoid about leaving stuff behind. Should be good. Like that, you know, this thing needed a thermometer or something stupid like that. MunRelay 4. There we go. We are set. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's launch. We are off. Going into our orbital insertion. Again, I'm just going to wait till I get some speed up, maybe around 50 meters per second. And we're going to knock this over towards the east. A few degrees. Lock that onto the prograde vector. Make sure the heading is 90 as we are going to the moon. So I do want to be equatorial. It's exactly on 90, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I can see the shadow of the clouds. Going through the clouds and I love watching the shadows moving across the surface there. Probably falling over a little quickly, so I'm just going to arrest that pitching over for a bit. Okay, let's lock that back on the prograde again. Keep an eye on our statistics. Oh, coming up through the clouds. Coming up through the clouds. Again, probably coming over air. Let's lock it on prograde. We're good now. Just leave it locked on prograde for the rest of this. Okay. And I'm going to knock back that throttle because our apoapsis time was getting close to a minute. Just get it to the point where that time to apoapsis stops climbing. There. And I'm just going to leave it on that throttle setting, not fiddle with it too much. So basically now I'm just going to go like this until it gets to 80 kilometers on the apoapsis. But I mean, on most of these streams you end up seeing a number of... you probably see at least one of these launches a stream, so... People that have been watching this for a while are pretty used to watching me do this. Alright. And everything is looking good. Oh, just crossed into enough for this to switch to orbit. That's fine. And... hello, Purple XO. He's asking how's it going. It's going very, very well. At least for me, things are going well. I can't speak for everybody else. Okay, apoapsis is just about at 60 kilometers, so still a little bit to go. Like I said, there's plenty of fuel in this booster. We should be able to get up with fuel to spare. Okay, let's lose the fairing. There we go. So I think the air is thin enough now. We can lose that weight. Okay, 70 kilometers on the apoapsis. And cut it at 80 there. Okay, let's time warp. Get ourselves out of the very, very top of this atmosphere. Okay, about 30 seconds to go. Let it get back onto that prograde vector. Won't be too much of a burn to finish off our circularization because our periapsis is pretty high. Don't forget, I do have limited ignitions. I only got 4 ignitions left, so I don't want to play around too much. So I'm just going to start with just a little bit of thrust. And I don't want this time to apoapsis to get away with me. So all I'm going to do is keep playing with this thrust and keep that fairly close by, but I don't want to turn the engine off. I probably started that burn a little. Can I go down a little more? There, and 60 on the periapsis. Apoapsis is getting away. Let's cut it. It's 70, 80 by 83. That's okay. Okay. Let's extend the antennas. I usually put this on an action group, but I know I did not. So I'm just going to extend them like this before I forget. And make sure that sight is waiting to go, but it won't go until we're in the moon's SOI. Put our lights on. Blinky lights up there. Put this onto the normal vector for the interest of our solar panels. I typically don't put relay satellites. Kyle Dooley asked, do you put relay satellites around Kerbin? Because I have the ground stations all on, like if I turn this on and turn on the, see how we're communicating with ground stations, I have communications all the way around. So for that reason, I don't really see a reason to put on, let's turn that all off, a reason to put relays in around Kerbin. I might. I do have a contract, I noticed, to put something into geostationary orbit that I could grab. So I might just do it just to do it, but I don't think there's a practical reason why I need to do it. Okay, let's set the moon as a target. Let's get out there. I'm going to get in the habit of 8:55. Boom. Okay, where is that moon encounter? There it was. It was there, and then it went right by again. Maybe a little bit more. Why is this being such... Ah! I'm back. There. There it is. That's what I was looking for. So again, we're going for a polar orbit. Here's our orbit that we're going to go for, and we do have to match the plane of that orbit, so I'll show you how to do that. Because there is an extra little bit of things there we got to consider, but our first goal is simply to smack the moon dead center. Go a little past, and we'll give a little retrograde. Just to save a little bit of fuel, though I don't think fuel is going to be much of an issue. Okay, a little bit more prograde. So what, there, that's hitting it pretty close to the middle. So, I really want to avoid doing some big, giant inclination change around here. Like if I went and came, this is by the way showing you your trajectory coming into the moon at the time you're crossing into the moon's SOI. So this angle here is the plane change I would have to make if I were to do the injection as it's standing right now. I could do that, but I would rather avoid having to do that. And it's easy to avoid doing that. All you have to do is start hopping ahead orbits here. So I'm going to push the go ahead and orbit button. And then I'm going to adjust the timing again. And this angle, I'm not sure if it got a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. It should have done one of those two things. I'm going to turn the time up a bit too. So I'm going to head a few orbits so that we can 1, 2, 3, 4 orbits. Now let's adjust the timing again. A little bit more prograde. And you can see how the angle's coming down smaller. And the reason why that's happening is because we're doing this burn later and later. Right now this burn's not coming up for another, 3 hours and 7 minutes. And so the moon's having a chance to get her going around the orbit a little bit more. And as the moon goes around its orbit, this angle's just going to keep changing on me. So all I have to do is keep hopping ahead orbits. Let's do that again. Until I'm as close as I can be. Just a little bit more prograde. Oh my gosh, I don't really... I'm not sure I see a point of... Should I try one more orbit? I'm not sure there was a point to that. I might now just be the same amount on the... I'm even further on the other side, so go back in orbit. So I had it right there. So I will have to make a teeny tiny itsy bitsy little plane change, but it won't be much. And yeah, that's the way to match a specific plane if you need to. Now the other thing I need to pay attention to, well actually we can do this burn right now. We'll have to do a correction obviously because I don't want to hit the moon, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So right now we gotta go ahead and time 4 hours and 42 minutes. Will this go quick out here? I should pay attention to alarm clock too. Okay, Munar 1's not happening for another 2 days. So let's just hit the warp button. How long is this going to take? Oh, it's not going to take too long. Not worth the going back to the Space Center. I like that we can time warp a lot more quickly than we used to be able to. All right, there we are. Put that onto here to prograde, and then we'll get onto that. Actually, I'm going to reduce. Let's reduce this throttle just a little bit because I think my starting thrust to weight is a little berserk. That way, it doesn't have to be so ridiculous. That's better, I think. Oh no, that was a bad idea because it didn't adjust the burn time to compensate for that. So I thought they would adjust this on the fly, but it doesn't. So it's going to have a lot of thrust at the start of this. If I adjusted the thrust before I made the maneuver, it probably would have been fine, but I didn't think about it at that time. Okay, so I'm going to get a lot of thrust right at the beginning. It's not a big deal, it just is a little silly. Boom. And we're going to burn through that stage very quick. And now we're on our little ant engine, which is significantly less thrust. But it will get the job done. Let's keep that on the maneuver node. Here, let's close that. I do like my little probes. Hello, right back at you, Limeland. Glad you can join us. Still, 350 meters per second. I guess I could have put a bigger engine on this thing. But I am a bit of an addict when it comes to little tiny engines, even with their tiny little thrust-to-weight ratios. Or I could have put on 2 ants. That would have been another option. But I did kind of slap this together rather quickly, didn't I? I'm just looking at your comment there, James, but I'm also paying attention to my maneuver, so I'll let's switch out to the moon. I'll finish this off and then take a look at that. All right, so again, I'm aiming right now just to hit the moon right in the center there. Reducing throttle in just a little bit. Reducing that throttle. Here it comes. And again, I'd rather not restart the engine because I have limited ignition, so I think this is a better plan. There we go. Good enough. All right, so the next step in this is to set up a correction burn out here. Now, the thing, you might think because I'm going in a polar orbit, it doesn't matter whether I come to the north of the moon or the south of the moon, but it certainly does matter because if we pay attention to our orbit here, you can see it's going around this way. So as I come into the moon's SOI, I definitely want to be going in the same direction as this, or else I'll end up having to make a 180-degree plane change. I probably don't have the fuel for that. So I need to come to the south of the moon here. So let's just start burning a bit to the south. Like that. And let's see if we can play around a bit with the time to find the sort of best spot. It really doesn't matter, does it? No, we're going to go with that. And I'm not interested in going into this orbit right away because I do want to collect all the near space site experiment stuff. So I'm going to start by going into a 40 by 40 orbit. And in fact, actually, we're going to spend some time. I'm just realizing we're going to spend some time in that orbit. So we'll get to this outer orbit at some point in the future. There we go. And I'm just picking 40 kind of arbitrarily. Now, can I adjust my plane much from here, or would that be better? No. Just keep it as polar as I can. We'll have to do a bit of a plane change when we come in. That's good for now. I think so. I think so. Alright, so let's orient this for the solar panels. Getting orbitally challenged. Why is this? Why am I having a hard time with it? Oh, is it on a weird... No. Control from here. I'm not 100% sure. It feels back. Everything feels backwards. I don't know what. Okay, whatever. I'm sure it's fine. There we go. Off we go. Okay. The site in low is not biome specific. Exactly right, James. It's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into low space first. It takes 1 hour to collect that low space science, and then we're going to go up to high space where I'm going to leave it to collect all the high space science. But by then it'll be in its relay orbit. So I think my view is just weird. I think that's all that's messing me up. There we go. So absolutely not. We're not going to spend a lot of time in this low space. Just enough to collect the site in low space, and then that's going to be it. Okay, so... Rule 1 is, let's do this burn. I don't have to wait for this to get to 0. So, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, there's no reason for me to wait. There we go. Can reduce the thrust. And actually, this isn't really super critical to get this exactly right. There we are. We are on our way to the moon. Nicey nice. He can stay upside down like that. Let's get ourselves to the moon. And we will warp to here. I'm going to go into a complete 40 by 40 orbit here, completely in low space all the way around. The reason for that is that it takes an hour to collect all the low space science. That's how long the site experiment takes to run. And so I want to, I can say this, I want to, actually I got an idea. Let's add a maneuver here. Maybe I won't go quite down to 40 by 40 now that I'm thinking about it. What I'm going to do, because I do need to make a bit of a plane change. Show you what I mean. I'm just going to leave. I do have to make a slight plane change. Well, no, let's go 40 by 40. It's fine. I'm making my life too complicated. So I'm going to go into a 40 by 40 orbit. We're going to collect all the science. That was a little too much, clearly. And then we're going to go up to this target orbit here. this right onto that periapsis. Dancing around it there a little bit. Okay, a little bit. About like that. More than good enough. Okay. So we actually should be, yes, we're already collecting some high space data. You can see how it is biome specific. But we won't be over each biome for very long, so it'll transmit. This data should not be collecting in the hard drive at all. Is it? Should be. Yeah, I'm at 100% hard drive space. It should be transmitting it pretty much as quickly as it collects it. Okay, let's get down there. This is still on full. It is, so let's get down there and do this. Hello, Moon, we're coming for you. Oh, we just transmitted 10 credits of science. What I want to do right now is just get this capture. We should be collecting now near space. Space low. But it takes an hour to collect all that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time in this orbit and then we'll go and boost our orbit. And I noticed... Oh yes, of course. Oh, I don't know what that contract is now that I'm looking at it. I'll get to that in just a second. I'm a little bit confused, but first deal with this burn. Yeah, it's not these contracts. Maybe it's, is it still the, okay. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm guessing too much. I gotta concentrate on this. Okay, 2, 1, and go. Again, a little ant engine working away. Working away to get our capture. Shouldn't take this, the parameters for the relay orbit is simply to get the orbit below 1,100 kilometers, so it should not take much to get that one green. There, it just went as I was talking about it. But I want to do better than that. So that's this contract done. Woohoo! One down. That's such an easy one. And these relay contracts keep coming up, so you can just keep putting in as many relays as you want. I'm realizing, here, slowing down a bit. All that's important is this is low space all the way around. The rest really doesn't matter, but because of how particular I tend to be about these things, I am going to go 40 by 40. There we go. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Okay, let's turn this into its upright. Oh, I'm still locked on. Still locked on prograde. Okay, up we go. Retro. I'm still locked on retrograde. Come on, there we are. Okay, let's just get this. But get it on that north circle. Then I know that the solar panels will have maximum exposure that they can get. Okay, so now we're collecting this site experiment stuff, but it's going to take about an hour. Why don't we just put this here? You can see it's got 56 minutes and 30 seconds left. What are the notifications popping up here? Here we go. I got notifications. Conduct a multispectral scan of the moon. That's now done. Excellent. That will really help once we go to do our landings. Place a relay, got that contract, and we got a new strategies, massive scale launches 2. So that is particularly great. One other thing, let's put this on free. There we are. And we'll watch this go around the moon here. As we're collecting this, I do have a strategy in play which should be getting me money every time I collect science from a new biome. So every time that science gets transmitted from a biome I've not been in before, I should be getting money. And since I have not collected any biome-specific science around the moon, this little satellite, once I put it into high space where the site experiment is biome-specific, should generate me a fair amount of income. I am looking forward to it. All right, let's time warp a little quicker. Got about 10 minutes to go. And then we have all of that site. There it is. Site experiment is now complete. I should be... Okay. So we now have collected all the low space site experimenty stuff. The next phase in this is to match this orbit. Now I can click on either the descending or ascending node and I can see I'm 5 degrees off. So I do have to fix that inclination, but the best place for me to do that is to first burn out here so that my apoapsis is right at the, in this case, only because it's coming up first, at the ascending node of my target orbit. I can see I need to come a little bit one way. Right there. And a little bit more. And then that, whoops. Oh, I'm hitting the time. Don't hit the time, silly. Retrograde. Just want to touch the orbit there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm getting too finicky again. What else is new? There we go. And then when we go to do the orbital insertion here at apoapsis, we'll also fix this little bit of an inclination difference at the same time. Combining those two burns together saves you fuel. It's nice to combine burns when you can. Okay, so this burn's coming up in just 4 minutes. So let's do that. And this is a prograde burn. I think it's such a short burn. I think I'm just going to leave it locked on the prograde vector. And I think as well I'll probably watch it from here so I can see what's going on. A little closer. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Again, I just want that apoapsis just to touch the target orbit there. Reduce this. Slow. Boom. And I was doing that not watching the maneuver node, but really watching right here. But I think that's looking pretty good to me. And then finally now we just need to add a burn here. This is going to be obviously a prograde burn. And this burn is here to match this whole orbit. Now I do need to bring it, I can see a little bit this way. Oop, a little bit the other way. To match planes. I can see I need to go a little higher. A little more prograde. Let's just look at these orbital parameters just one more time. There is a longitude of the ascending node which tells you where it is you cross the equator, but as long as I match the plane of this orbit, I'll match that. There is no argument of the periapsis, so I do not have to match where this periapsis and apoapsis are. I just have to match the numbers that I see here. So, actually I think I still probably do, yeah, I do have to match the... yeah, I'm gonna need some radialness. Whoops, gotta select the node. With some radialness, we can move that apoapsis and periapsis around. There we go, see? A little more here. Okay, let's just watch apoapsis. Apoapsis needs to be 270. Periapsis need to be 231. So I need... As I click that radial one, apoapsis is coming down and periapsis is going up. But now they're both too small, so that tells me I need more prograde. A little more prograde. That should be about right. Let's play around again with this. 270 on the apoapsis, 231. A little bit more prograde. Should be very close now. Actually overdid it. A little retrograde. 231 on the periapsis. I should know that by now. There. I'm sure that's close enough. Oh, and they are right where they are supposed to be too. I was just watching the numbers here, but I can see now. What I should have done when I did the burn here, I should have put my apoapsis at my target apoapsis number and just didn't pay attention to the orbit, but that should be okay. I can see the inclination is going to be fine, so this, I'm sure it's good enough to match these orbital parameters that we see. Again, I want to make sure I got some good solar exposure. Always find that north circle and just start following around until my probe is perpendicular to the galaxy map, and then I know I'm in a good spot. That's pretty with the Kerbin right there. Okay, let's get out to that maneuver. That should finish off this contract. And then it's time to put this guy into its final relay orbit. I should have enough fuel for all of it. Actually, I should have enough fuel easy. Went up nice and high. Okay, on to... I guess this will have a lot going on, yeah. This has some prograde, some radial, some normal, so the vector is way out here. Lot going on with this burn. We can match all these orbital parameters. Okay, time warp a little bit closer. It's just a 12-second burn. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to not really pay too much attention to the maneuver node and really just wait for these parameters to go green. As soon as those parameters go green, I'm going to stop. 2 and go. Just get ready to reduce throttle. So you don't have to match all that stuff perfectly. Okay, reduce the throttle and just wait for those to go green. Go green, you stinkers. Oh, I think I missed it by a bit. Shoot. Oh, they went green. I'm not sure what quite happened there, but it gave it to me. I thought I missed it for a sec because I saw the maneuver node starting to come back up again. But it's there. Okay, that's good. So we got that polar parameter contract one done. Those are all the required contracts. And now it's relay time. And that to me is very exciting. I'm a big fan of relays. So just to remind people kind of where we're at on the relay front around the moon here, as I position this guy once again, let's turn on all of our relay satellites we got. They are this one. Okay, so I have 3 relays all the way in this orbit here, and they're pretty equally spaced. I can put on our communication lines. There they all are, making an equilateral triangle. And you might be wondering, why bother... If I turn this off, why bother adding in a 4th relay? These 3 seem to have it covered, but well, that's not quite true. If you land something at either the North Pole or the South Pole, if you kind of picture it drawing a line, like imagine there's a satellite here, right? And imagine that communication line kind of going towards the planet. You see, if you're right at the surface on the North Pole, the moon itself will block your communication path to the satellites here that are going around on the equator. I actually did a little bit of trigonometry, a little bit of simple math, and figured out that if I was north of a latitude of 7 degrees north or south of a latitude of 70 degrees south, I potentially could lose communication with these guys. Now, To be honest, I think KSP is fairly generous with they actually have the communication lines going through the surface a little bit. But I thought the way to fix that would be to put relays in a polar orbit so that, see if we can see it kind of happening here. So that, you know, worst comes to worst, if I was, say, at the South Pole, I could communicate with this guy. And even if this guy was, actually, this guy would have to be in a position to communicate with Kerbin. I was thinking I would need to put 3 in around here, but these polar orbit ones would always be, at least when they're at the, below the North Pole or, sorry, above the South Pole or above the North Pole, I think you would have a view with Kerbin guaranteed, regardless of the orientation of this orbit. So here's what I'm going to think I will do, is I got one relay. At some point in the future, I'll put in a second relay that is exactly opposite. Does that make sense? No, because they could be down at the equators and then I get no coverage. No. So I'll put 3 relays in an orbit. I'm getting to what I want to talk about. Eventually, I'll put 3 relays in this orbit, and then with 3 relays in an equatorial orbit, 3 relays in a polar orbit, I got the entire surface of the moon covered. I should anyway. So, what I want to do to finish this off, there's no contract, but I do have a very specific orbit that these guys are in. It's got a semi-major axis of 377.35 kilometers. I want to match that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm just going to push this prograde. This shouldn't be much of a burn. I should be able to do this just by looking at the numbers. I want to move this apoapsis up to 377.35. So this shouldn't be much of a burn. 377.35 is what I'm shooting for. So I just passed 300. And again, I do have limited ignition, so the ants have a lot. So I'm trying not to cut the engine. I'm trying just to play with the throttle, the amount of throttle more than anything else. You know, I could put on the Sensi. Oh, I went too far. I was talking too much and I went too far. Let's spin around retrograde. Still have 71 ignitions. I need to be less concerned about this. Okay, 377.35. There we go, 377.334. That's close enough. Okay, let's get those solar panels some nice exposure. And then, what I want to do is circularize up here at apoapsis. Like that. And to be honest, what's more important than getting an exact circle is to get the period right. These satellites are all in orbits with a period of 3 hours, right down to the second. So notice that the game is giving me a projected period here, 3 hours, 1 minute, and 12 seconds. So I actually went a little too far. I want that to be 3 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Oh, wow. Let's go down to the least amount of sensitivity I got. There we go. And that is... Let's see here. I play with the... Oh, I mean, I want to make a go at it looking kind of like a circle. So let's... Oh, what am I... No. Sorry. Started playing with the radial out of habit. Radial should be 0. Every time I hit 0, I put on the magnetic fields. 0 off. Back to this. I should be able to adjust with the timing, silly Billy. That's going the wrong way. I want this an approximation of a circle. There we go. That's close to us. Very, very close to a circle. And with a period of 3 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Yeah, I know you can scroll with the... I play around with different ways of setting up these maneuvers. Getting used to different things. You can scroll with the mouse on the little pull tabs, and that's a really nice way to do it too. Oh, I think... Oh, Munar 1. Okay. Okay, this burns an hour away, so let's jump out to Munar 1. Munar 1. This is another contract. Excellent. Alarm clock is telling me that Munar 1 is less than 5 minutes away, and this is a contract to go into a very specific orbit. Munar 1's a very old probe that originally flew by the moon, and then it flew by the moon again, that put it into this blue orbit, and I used the moon to try and get really close to the orange orbit, which is my target. And you can see I did a pretty good job. So now I got this 26 meter per second burn just to kind of finish off the job that I couldn't quite do with just the moon. Yeah, let's reduce... Oh, the throttle's already really far down. Okay, so let's warp to the maneuver. We should be way... Where's Kerbin? There's Kerbin. There's the moon. Way out in this orbit. Okay. Get ourselves a little closer to the burn. This is turning into an orbital maneuvering palooza episode. That on the maneuver node. Okay, get ready. I'm just going to go half throttle here. We'll start a few seconds early, go to half throttle. Again, I'm looking for... Oh, whoa! I've already reached the designated orbital parameters. I was close enough just with hardly doing anything. So I just got to wait for the 10 seconds for this to go green. Green! That contract's done. Awesome! So we'll leave you alone, Munar 1. You can go back to your regularly scheduled program of aimlessly going around aimlessly in this big silly orbit around Kerbin that's serving no purpose at all. I should have actually quite a lot. Yeah, this is dead. This is done. Let's delete that contract. Or delete that mission. And this mission is done. Delete that mission. We're banging these off. And this mission's done. Delete that mission. Okay. I said delete that mission. There we go. Get rid of that. Let's go back to MunRelay number 4 and finish that off. Go to the vessel. You can create a maneuver node exactly at PE with the mouse. Are you sure there, Rob Woods? I would love if somebody knows that trick of exactly getting the maneuver node exactly on something. That'd be awesome. Playing with the throttle for this burn here. There we go. Okay, let's get to this maneuver. Where's the moon? There's the moon down there. Rob Woods says you can get a burn exactly on periapsis. I wasn't aware of that. Whoops, this is prograde. Okay. Look at the orbital parameters here. Get ourselves a little closer. And again, what I really am looking at more than the maneuver node, more than my apoapsis, periapsis, is this period. I want this period to be exactly 3 hours. That's the main thing I'm looking at. So that way when I bring in another satellite and put it in this orbit, it'll be easy for me to kind of match it, get it into the phase I want it to be in if I have a period that I can remember easily. Okay, I'm starting to burn, going to about half throttle because it's not much of a burn. Then we're going to really reduce our throttle as we get close here. Start reducing that throttle. Okay, let's reduce the throttle limiter down here to teensy weensy. I don't care about the maneuver anymore. And I'm just watching those seconds click up. Just past 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds. 40 seconds. 50 seconds. Reduce throttle again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. There we go. 3 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. That is what I was shooting for. Let's get this in a nice orientation for the solar panels. There we go. Let's take a look at how this looks. So there's our relays. Nicey nice. And that's really going to help with coverage of the poles at the north and the south, should I ever decide to go there. And in some future date, I will stick 2 more other relays in this same orbit.